Is she hating or no? This video is brought to you by The Officer Tatum Store. The Officer Tatum Store. Get the merch link in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live or make a video. Make sure you still subscribe to my channel. Hit that join button so you can join the Tatum Squad. Like this video. Comment on this video. Share this video. Let's get into this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't go to CPAC this year. I have no desire to go to CPAC. One of the major reasons why I didn't attend CPAC, even though people wanted me to go to CPAC, is because I had a baby. And which one is more important, CPAC or the birth of my son? So, I didn't go to CPAC this year. And even if I was invited, I'm not too enthusiastic about being there. Nothing against anybody that want to go. It's just me. I just don't. I've been around too many fake conservatives and stuff that I really just don't want to be there. I don't want to be around certain people. But that's for another video. But let me play this clip because this was brought to my attention. I saw it on the Instagram, and it is about black conservatives. And this young lady, I have no idea who she is. I never heard of her a day in my life. Nothing against her. It's not personal. I'm going to talk about the concept in which she's referring to. And I think this is not just her. It's a bunch of people, and probably the majority of people on this panel I'm about to show you probably feels the same way about this subject matter, which I 100% disagree with. And I think that there's underlying messaging here that I want to talk about. Now, this is my personal opinion. You know, hey, you don't have to like it or whatever the case may be. Let's roll the film. So let's go through the panel real quick because I happen to know a few people on this panel. This is a panel at CPAC. I'm assuming it's about black conservatives because I think she was talking about it. I heard Adrian Norman talking about it. So, you know, this gentleman here is Maj Toure. Maj Toure, I believe, in my personal opinion, have zero credibility as far as I'm concerned. Maj Toure ain't even his real name. I have no respect for this person. This is Adrian Norman. I know Adrian personally. Adrian and I disagree, but I believe Adrian is exactly who he portrays himself to be. He's on this stage saying the things he say. Some things I agree with, some things I don't, but that's who you're going to get. This person ain't who he say he is. I don't know this person. I don't know this person. Angela Stanton is the person sitting here, and she's incredibly disingenuous. She criticized me publicly for marrying a white woman, so I don't believe anything she say. And I think this lady is Sonny Johnson, whom I never met before, but I know she hate Candace Owens with a passion. So that's setting up this panel. So when this young lady speak, I believe majority of the people in this panel agree with what she's saying. And this is kind of the perspective that we're coming with. So let me play what she had to say, and then I'm going to make my commentary right after that. Roll the film.
I think they've been able to do that by being more inclusive. And I think that's something that we can learn in the conservative party. There's not just one type of black conservative, and I feel like that's where we failed over the last 4 years. We propped up one type of black conservative, and just because white people like them, it was like, oh yeah, we love her. Oh God, she has her own thinking, you know, oh yeah, woo. But
she's talking about Candace Owens. Just so y'all know, she's talking about Candace Owens.
But that wasn't necessarily who the black people really identify with. And I like to kind of make this analogy. A lot of people are familiar with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. Okay, just say Carlton and Will were both conservatives. Carlton could go to Bel-Air, and he could talk to the people of Bel-Air all day long. Yeah. But you could not send Carlton to Philly to talk to those people. You would have had to send Will to talk to the people who had the same type of life experiences that Will had. Yeah. So when it comes to conservatives, being conservative, stop propping up Carlton Banks thinking that Carlton is going to be the one to be able to communicate with the wheels of the conservative party. You're going to have to prop up the wheels so that they can speak the language that people understand and share experiences with. And I think that's how we fail. I feel like the Democrats do a very good job of making sure they have people that represent all around, and that's what we need to do better as conservatives. You can't take Carlton to Philly going, it's not unusual. No, that's not going to work.
Okay, so you heard what she said, and you see everybody's laughing and cheering it on, and we all know that she's talking about Candace Owens. Now, there's a sentiment. There is a group of people who were in the black conservative movement who absolutely despise people like me, people like Candace Owens. They absolutely despise us. And in her perspective is that there's only two types of black people to a certain degree. Two types of black people. You have the Carltons, which if you think about what Carlton was on The Fresh Prince, he was corny, he wasn't popular, he was uncoordinated. He was kind of like the laughing stock. Look, when they talk about Carlton, they laugh at him. He's the laughing one. And then Will Smith was the cool one, down with the posse. He was the image of black people, and Carlton was corny and whack. Well, this is the problem that I see, and this is the problem that I see with the idea of thinking of this way, as if the black community is only a hood-type personality and a very, very educated personality. There's a lot of black people in the middle of this. Not everybody in the black community, even who live in Philly, even who live in the hood, have the same experiences. I know people that live in the hood that had both of their parents, and they grew up in a safe environment. None of their family members were in gangs. They just so happen to live in this jurisdiction. And I know people that grew up in a really, really positive community, but they weren't always in that position. This is in my opinion, this is an intentional despise of people like Candace Owens, who people are just jealous of. I mean, it's an energy, not the people. I don't know that girl, but the energy is just jealousy, because many of these people have been in the conservative movement for decades. Candace Owens shows up 4 years ago and completely dominates. And the reason why she dominates, it has nothing to do with the Carltons and the Will Smiths of our era. It's because there is two different folds of people that become popular and people who are not popular. And the people who become popular are people who are conservative, like myself, who happen to be black. The people who never really reached the heights and success of people like myself and Candace Owens and others are people who are black who happen to be conservative. There's two different ways of thinking about it. I make videos, I make content specifically about conservative values, and I just so happen to be black, and I just so happen to grow up and have some of what we consider a black experience, which is a portion of a black experience. This is not the black experience because you don't grow up in wealth. That doesn't mean you don't have a black experience. Black people come in all shapes, forms, and fashions. But I have had those experiences, and I'm one of many people that have had that same thing. But Candace Owens, and people have said these things about Candace Owens as if Candace Owens don't have the black experience because she's now successful. And we got to be very careful at having these conversations and doing things like that, because it's counterproductive. If you focus on being primarily black, and then you want to drag that into a party of saying, let's be colorblind, let's eliminate the barriers and walls, you're not going to go as far. Like this young lady here that ragged me and ragged Candace Owens for being married to people who weren't black. You're not going to get very far when you have that racist undertone of black before conservative, black before country. That's not gonna bode well. And I think that's why some people are successful and some people are not as successful. Candace Owens is a fiery, smart, intelligent, bold young lady. And that's why she's successful. It has nothing to do with somebody propping them up. It has nothing to do with CPAC propping her up. It has nothing to do with the RNC propping her up. It has everything to do with the fact that she's bold. She say what she feel. She's like a Donald Trump. And she just so happened to be a female and so happened to be black. And people love her. She's saying what people are dying to say, but they just feel that they cannot say it. On the contrary, the people who are not as successful and maybe spend more time talking down about people who are successful than probably doing work or doing more work than they are currently doing are these individuals who took a side during Ahmaud Arbery. And this is where the division happened, and most of the division happened, and a lot of people hated me over it, is that when Ahmaud Arbery happened, most of these people on this panel that I know of took the side of Ahmaud Arbery and said, oh my God, this is a racism, without no information. They took a certain side. And when people like myself and Candace Owens said, no, wait a minute. This ain't the opportunity to be incongruent be congruent with the black Democrats and find common ground. This ain't the opportunity. The opportunity is telling the truth, and wherever that truth lands is where it's at. And at that point in time that this happened, that's when many of these people on this panel came out against me, came out against Candace, and my popularity or my influence shot out of the roof. Not because somebody's propping me up, not because I'm the Carlton, because I probably have more of a hood experience and more of a black experience than most of the people sitting on this panel. But it's because I told the truth, and no matter what color you are, you can identify with the truth. And I just had to give my commentary on that, because I think this is a sentiment that continues to be out there, that there's somehow this Carlton, type of black person, and there's the real black person, and we need more black people who are down with the people and more hood. That's not how conservatives move, man. You need people that's telling the truth. You need people that are honest. You need people that have life experience. And some people that have come from these communities that are truthful, have life experience, have something to bring to the table, that are charismatic, that are consistent. Those individuals will be the ones that are more successful. Those individuals should have an access and have a platform. But when you look at the end of the day, most of those people have a platform, and nobody just gave it to them. They built a platform. And I think people need to really understand that. This is not about a color thing. This is about values. And if you share the proper values, you are a conservative person, and you're consistent with it, you will have a major platform. You will have a major platform. And Candace Owens and I are a perfect example of that. And I know she's a much bigger brand than I am, but we're in a perfect example of that. I grew up very differently than Candace Owens. I grew up what I would like to say in and around the hood my whole life. People can tell the way I talk that I'm from Texas. You know what I'm saying? I got my hood tattooed on my forearm right here. I got tats on my stomach. So I've had a different experience than Candace Owens. And Candace Owens didn't have the same experience as me, but we both have grown and become very incredibly influential. That has nothing to do with Carlton or Will Smith. It has everything to do with the fact that we say what we feel, and we're unashamed of our stances that we take. And we don't take stances based on popularity context. We take stances based on what our moral compass believes. And we stand on that. And people gravitate to that. And that's why probably most of the people that follow me have no idea who most of these people are on this panel. And that is because a lot of people are afraid to be bold. A lot of people like to stay in this little box, and they spend a lot of time, and I'm not saying everybody on this panel, but they spend a lot more time critiquing and complaining than they are actually influencing. And many people think that it's a plus to like hate on social media influence. But I tell you what, having a social media presence and influence is incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful. I can give a compelling speech or mention something right now, and hundreds of thousands of people have access to seeing that. I don't have to be on your street. I don't have to be in your community for you to see content and be able to change the way you've thought. For me to just say, oh, social media is not that relevant, it's what I'm doing on the ground. I mean, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I mean, you can do boots on the ground. You can do things. I've been to 28 states now. I've spoken at 20 plus universities. I've been everywhere. And I also have a pretty significant social media following, which allows me when I go to these places that people want to come, people want to show up, they bring a friend, people are more confident that I have an established brand, that I can go out and make more of an impact with having that duality. Meaning that I can do things properly on social media, and I can perform or have a speech in person that can be compelling and charismatic and present a message to people that I think will be, significant in order to change the way people think, change lives, the same way people did to change my life. And I'll say this before I close this thing. It is somewhat, and I don't totally disagree with this, but it is somewhat of a slap in the face to black folks to think that only black folks can convert black folks. Like, I think that may be a mistake that some people are thinking about, because I didn't become a conservative because of black people. I did not become a conservative because of black people. It was actually the white people that I knew on the SWAT team and on the police department that were giving compelling arguments of why they believed that I was actually a conservative and I wasn't a Democrat. A black Democrat is what took me away from the Democrat Party. Barack Obama is what made me want to leave the Democrat Party. Donald Trump was a compelling force for me to be Republican. And I hope that I'm saying Democrat, Republican right, because sometimes I interchange the words, but y'all know what I mean. But Donald Trump was the reason why I wanted to vote for the Republicans. Ben Carson was an incredible candidate, but Donald Trump got me to voting for a Republican and got me inspired to be a Republican. So he's not a black person. Donald Trump being honest, being bold, telling the truth is the reason why I became a conservative, and some of my friends who influenced me. But yeah, there's people like Larry Elder. There's people like Katrina Pearson. There's other people that I watched that I found out about when I became a conservative that I think are excellent people. But I don't think that we need to waste our time focusing so much on black, white, black, white, black, white. We don't have to focus on that. We can do our activism in communities, but when it comes to party and voting, I just don't think that it's necessary to think that you have to exclusively be a certain way. Because the Carlton, and I wish I'd have said this at the beginning of the video, the Carlton of the black movement has a organization that I helped co-found called Blexit, which services the black community more. I would say that it's more impactful or more influential than what this individual does, and I don't know what these other people do in the black community. But Blexit is a pretty tremendous organization in over 20 plus states that doing activism, boots on the ground in these inner city, in the black communities. So the Carlton of the black conservative movement that, according to the young lady in the blue, was a mistake on the Republican Party, has the most influential black organization, black-led organization out of probably anybody sitting on this panel. And we're not going to even talk about how many people have flipped, how much access and exposure she's had by going on and being able to converse with T.I., Killer Mike, being able to, with, what's his name, Kanye West, being before Congress. I mean, those things are incredibly important. And I'm going to end with this, and I know I'm being Mr. Preacher McPreacher. I'm going to end with this. We need to stop this stuff here, in my personal opinion. And I'm not saying dialogue. I'm saying the sentiment that came from this young lady that's reverberated, if that's even a word, throughout this audience, and the laughing and on one accord and thinking it's funny to understand the sentiment or believe in the sentiment that she's saying. We need to stop that. Black people are not monolithic, which is the title of this video. So there is room for people who may think like her, even though these two people are complete fraud, and this person is probably a complete fraud to me. But there are people who don't know she's a fraud that may believe in the sentiment that she's saying. You know, maybe her fraudulent behavior attracts certain people to the conservative movement, but there are individuals who have a place in it. There is room for Brandon Tatum and somebody like Adrian to exist, even though we may be slightly on different sides of the spectrum. There is room for people like Candace Owens and people like Burgess Owens to exist, and people who think differently to all exist at the same time. It's not a mistake that Candace Owens is the most popular black conservative, probably the conservative of any race. She's one of the most conservative. That's not a mistake. There's nothing wrong with that. She is necessary. She moved the needle more than probably anybody that I know. And there's also room for other people, if they're genuine, for other people that may not think like Candace to be a part of the movement. But this whole concept that messaging and you got to think this way if you're going to attract black people, that is probably the most fraudulent perspective that one can ever have. Everybody has to eat at the table. Black people come in all shapes and sizes, and Candace Owens, people may not even know who Candace Owens is. They may like me, and I may be somebody they may listen to. But just because I'm very incredibly popular and I'm on social media don't mean that I'm not an adequate resource. And just because you don't have a social media and you're actually doing something in the streets and you may not have a big social media following, don't make you irrelevant. It just means that there needs to be people like Candace. There needs to be people with social media. So you can catch them on the social media level. You can catch them on the financial level. You can catch them, anywhere people land, you can bring them into the fold. And that's the same thing about, church and spirituality and everything like that. I mean, if every preacher was the same type of preacher, even though they may agree and disagree on certain levels, there needs to be a diversity of preaching. But I don't think that any one of those preaching styles are problematic. And I don't think that people propping people up is the right way to look at it. It's like, become more charismatic. Put more content out on social media. Be more bold in your stance. Don't wait on people to give you opportunities and put you on a panel or something like this for you to feel like, well, this is what they need to do, because this audience is 95% white probably. So that's not, I don't believe that this is somehow being effective either in the black community when most black people ain't even watching CPAC. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there, man. No offense to people, but B. Tatum got to keep it real. I every chance I get to make mention of people that I know that are untrustworthy, in my personal opinion, based on my experience, I'm gonna call them out. And people that I know that I may disagree with, but I think that they're trustworthy, I'm gonna call them out and call it for what it is. And like I mentioned, these people on the panel, these three right here. I don't think I have an ounce of respect for any of these people. I don't know this lady. I don't know him, but I know Adrian. And like I said, I think that him and I disagree on certain things, but he has been consistently the same person that I see here that I know in person. And these, at least these two people are not that person. But like I said, and this is the way I always look at things, don't listen to me. Build your own opinion. You go follow these people if you want to, and you build your own perception. It's just the way I think based on the experiences that I have. But anyway, I'm finna get out here because I got another video I want to make. I want to sum up what President Trump did the other night and how impactful it was and how great I thought it was to hear from a real president, and some of the things that he touched on that I thought were amazing. So I love you guys. Make sure you visit the Officer Tatum store, discount code Trump 2024. Now, no Tatum 2024, Trump 2024. I may put the link in the description section because it ends tonight at 11:30 Arizona time. So I want you to have an opportunity to get a discount on the store, 20% off. And I'm only doing this for the people that make it to the end of this video. So I love y'all. Thank y'all for making it to the end because you must be really watching me. But anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one, man. I'm out.